Chris Lee, Blayne Gilmer, and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Steaks. Here to talk about Ole Miss LSU. Let's see. The latest line I'm seeing, Ole Miss is a 1.5-point underdog. LSU, of course, the home team, 60.5-point over-under. Vegas thinks this is a close game. Fascinating matchup. Ole Miss is still unbeaten after a win over Auburn in which it got out big early and then kind of underwhelming to the finish line. Although Ole Miss did rush for about 450 and had 3 guys over 100 yards. LSU, in the meantime, my goodness, Jayden Daniels is still accounting for touchdowns in Gainesville. Very, very impressive performance for Daniels and the Tigers offense. That was a crazier game than we thought, and a much different game stylistically. LSU is kind of hard to pick week to week. Ole Miss has been fairly consistent, although as the opposition has gotten tougher, the scores have gotten closer. The Rebels really have not played much of a schedule, and this will be one of the tougher games for the Rebels so far. Blayne, I know you're really excited to talk about this one. What are you seeing when you look at Ole Miss and LSU?
I can't get out of my mind that Ole Miss just gave up 300 yards rushing to Auburn. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, I could not believe that. I could not believe how easily at times there would be opportunities for, like on the touchdown for Robbie Ashford, that, just going 5 wide and nobody staying at home with the quarterback and him just waltzing into the end zone. Tell me Jayden Daniels isn't capable of doing that. I'm really worried about Ole Miss's defense in this, but I'm also worried about the overall consistency of LSU. So, Blake, I think both teams have some things to worry about and some things to be excited about going into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, LSU coming off of what felt like a kind of a statement game in terms of what Jayden Daniels can do, and just going on the road after just getting walloped by Tennessee. That felt like, kind of LSU saying, all right, like we certainly let that get away from us against Tennessee, which we could say it's the same about a lot of teams probably against the Vols. But I think I really liked how they responded. And so I think having that momentum coming into this game at home, I guess if you're an LSU fan at this point, you're like, can we just get one of these dang games at night? Like, can we just move this game to 7 or 8 p.m. Instead of the 2:30 slot or 3:30 slot?
The bar owners are saying the same thing over there.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's
the owners of the local watering holes are like, you're killing us right now. Like, let's get this going.
Come on. Top 10 team coming in. Can we get this game at night? But no, it is, like Blayne said, kind of the ups and downs we've seen with LSU versus is the Ole Miss defense starting to kind of, based off of last week, now you come into this matchup. There's a lot to like about what should, I think, be a pretty entertaining game here. So.
Okay, when Ole Miss has got the ball, Rebels averaging 40.9 points a game, LSU giving up 21.3. All right, taking sacks out of it, which, by the way, Ole Miss has only given up 3 sacks all year. That is crazy for 21 yards. Okay, Rebels are averaging 5.9 yards per rush play, LSU giving up 4.8. Ole Miss averaging 8.6 yards per pass play, and LSU giving up 6.2. Blayne, what are you seeing in the matchup there?
I mean, obviously you have a very athletic quarterback in Jaxson Dart. I think that's part of the reason that they don't have a lot of sacks. Chris, is that if there ever is problems, Jaxson Dart is capable of escaping, and not only escaping, hurting people with his legs. And obviously they're very, very good at the run game themselves. So when you're having to focus on the run, teams can't just pin their ears back and come after you as well. So that's a good design by Lane Kiffin and knowing his team this year. I think that LSU definitely is going to have to do better than that 4.8 yards per carry that they're averaging giving up against this Ole Miss team, or Lane Kiffin has proven he will just run the football. Like, he's not worried about, airing it out and all that kind of stuff, he's proven he'll adjust. So I think it's going to be all about, can LSU force Ole Miss to convert some 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, and keep them off schedule on early downs when they run the football. Easier said than done, especially with a guy like, Mason Smith not there, who they lost at the beginning, a big guy in the middle. So they've got some talented pass rushers, but they've got to get them in those 3rd down situations where Ojulari and all these guys can get after Jaxson Dart a little bit.
Yeah, we've talked about the LSU front before, and kind of certainly what they can do to disrupt a game. But, there's still something, just the way Lane Kiffin calls offense, a little different this year, right? Because it's not passing the ball 100 times a game, but it's just a thing of beauty sometimes when you see kind of what they're able to dial up in this spot, that spot. And again, I know it's more on the ground this year, but it's the situational stuff. It's knowing when to call this, when to call that. Like, Ole Miss is still so good at that. And, you can kind of see that in some of these games, even like an Auburn game where, things are a lot closer maybe than you thought it would be. But you just dial up some of those things and just work to perfection. And that's what they're doing. Ole Miss is really executing their offense. And I think Jaxson Dart has certainly continued to get a lot more comfortable in what they're doing offensively. And I think that's been a big part of their success too. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for LSU. There's no doubt about it. Going up against, as we've said all season, one of the best rushing attacks in the country. Certainly coming off of just a ridiculous amount of yardage against Auburn, and having a lot of momentum coming into this, and basically just saying, what we're going to do? We're going to run the ball down your throat and see if you can stop us. And right now, not a lot of teams can do that with Ole Miss. So.
Okay, one other thing on this side of the ball before we flip sides of the matchup. Ole Miss has thrown 7 interceptions. LSU's picked 4. LSU's recovered 8 fumbles. That leads the league. And Ole Miss has lost 3. So ball security will be important. We'll be on the other side of the ball too. Interesting numbers there, which we will get to in just a second. But first, a word from our sponsor, Stakes. Stakes is the free app where you go in and make predictions on games. That is spelled STAKES. Go to playwithstakes.com/Southeastern 14, or excuse me, /14. Get a double welcome bonus. Fun app, guys. Free to join, free to play. We play it. You can make your predictions on games. Again, no cost. You can win stuff. You can brag when you beat us on your bets, which against me, that wasn't hard to do last week. So anyway, go to Stakes, support our title sponsor, have some fun in the game, and let us know about it when you do. And again, get a double welcome bonus when you sign up with the promo code Southeastern 14, which you can find all that on our ticker below. Okay, when LSU's got the ball, here are the numbers you need to know. Ole Miss giving up 17.3 points a game, albeit that against a fairly weak schedule, easiest in the league so far. And as you've seen, Ole Miss's opposition get better. Some of the defensive numbers have inched up, or not inched up, I would say leapt up in an unfavorable direction. LSU has lost 3 fumbles. Ole Miss has recovered 7. Ole Miss has 6 picks. LSU has thrown 3 sacks. Goodness. LSU has given up 22 of them. Ole Miss has got 19. So watch that one there. Yards per running play, taking out sacks, LSU averaging 5.6. Ole Miss giving up 4.5. Yards per pass play, LSU getting 6.6. That went up last week. And Ole Miss only giving up 5.3. So good pass defense when you factor in sacks. I think ball security going to be a huge issue here to watch again on this side of the ball too, Blayne.
For sure. When you mentioned the 8 fumbles, I'll talk about the offense here in just a second. I did want to go back. When you mentioned the 8 fumbles, it made me think, do they have Coach Yost from Remember the Titans on their staff? Like a starving man on a Christmas ham, jumping on it. So they're very opportunistic on the fumbles. But offensively, I think what finally stood out to me this past week was they had somebody beside Jayden Daniels lead them in rushing over there. Josh Williams went off for over 100 yards. That had to be like a piano being lifted off the back of Jayden Daniels. Like, he didn't have to do literally everything because he obviously is the quarterback and produces the production through the air, but I mean, didn't have to do as much. Now he did plenty with his legs, but he didn't have to do as much. And I think if they can get more complementary in their style of play offensively, and we know that Ole Miss at times can give up the run. You saw a Tulsa team with a running quarterback after their first quarterback went out. And listen, I know Ole Miss fans are going to get in the comments and say, well, we were preparing for the leading passing quarterback in the NCAA. I don't care. You can adjust once he's out, you don't give up 300 yards rushing or whatever they did. So it's going to be interesting. Also, another trend breaking of trends, Blake, is Kayshon Boutte got going this past game. I mean, it was Boutte time. They got him going in the swamp.
You set me up, Blayne. I was going to go with the Boutte is back.
Yeah.
And yes, that is important. And look, that is a big part of this, though. Like, we can laugh, but like that's what we've been waiting on in terms of if you can see that consistently, we know what LSU can become if he's going for 100 yards receiving. And so I think that's kind of a fun little thing to think about in this game is how do they continue to get him involved, because that is so important, especially hosting a top 10 team. I think like this, again, Jayden Daniels coming off of a fantastic performance at Florida. Will he be able to score 6 touchdowns again? I don't know about that in this game, but like you said, there are other guys stepping up, whether it's Williams, whether it's Boutte, like those guys are stepping up now at the right time in terms of coming off of games like that, coming into a huge game like this. And yeah, like I'm kind of interested to see, Jayden Daniels, we talked about it all season long. It's like, we know what this guy can do. And now that you start to see him, I mean, guys, he's been a very efficient player. I think that's kind of one of the things too that has stood out with him. And I think in these kind of games, having a quarterback like that who has really not put you in those situations where you feel like, he's going to make the mistake at the wrong time and those kind of things. I think he's been really good at that in terms of his numbers. He's almost a 70% completion percentage, only thrown 1 interception this season. I think there's a lot to like about that heading into a game like this. But the sacks are something too, right? Like that's something to think about here. That's an important part of this. So it's a fun matchup on both sides of the ball here for both teams. And I think that's why this makes this such a tough game to pick, which I know we're unfortunately going to have to do here in a second, even though I still have not made my decision yet. So hopefully I'll have that in a second.
Okay, I looked at the numbers, and I just like the way this one tilts. Now, I am concerned that this is in Baton Rouge, but I just look at the Ole Miss ability to get pressure, how many sacks LSU has given up, the way Ole Miss can run the ball. And frankly, Lane Kiffin's play calling is just so good, guys. He just finds your weakness, and he hits it, and he hits it, and he hits it. I mean, you saw Jaxson Dart throw for like 450 2 weeks ago on Vandy after they've been running the ball all year, and then they go back to the ground and run for about 450. I know Auburn's had its struggles, but that defense is good. I just like Ole Miss in this matchup. LSU a 1.5 favorite, where I'm seeing as we do this on Sunday night. Over under of 60.5. That means the predicted final by Vegas is roughly 31-30. I will take Ole Miss to win straight up. I will take the over. We are not professional bettors. Don't pretend to be. We just watch a lot of SEC football. That is my stand. What about you guys?
Yeah, here's my only thing. LSU did look bad against Tennessee, but they were on short notice without their left tackle. Their left guard also got hurt in that game, and things went, awry from the beginning with special teams issues, stuff like that. I think if they play that game, 10 times, I'm sure Tennessee wins the majority of them, but I don't think they go that way. Also, I think if you played Tennessee and Ole Miss right now on a neutral field, Vegas would probably have Tennessee well more than a touchdown favorite in my opinion. So I think LSU has a great chance in this game, because you look at the yards per carry allowed by Ole Miss, it's at 3.67, I think, and also they're 68th in the country. That is bolstered by them playing 3 teams at the beginning of the season that didn't have a pulse. So I'm going to say that LSU does it on the ground. and gets that Death Valley crowd into it. Give me LSU to upset the number 7 ranked Rebels at home, Blake.
Like you two guys are like debating for me here in terms of trying to convince me which way I'm going to go. First, I'm going to start with.
By the way, would not be an upset. LSU is favored. So,
in my opinion, if you look at the polls, I mean,
right,
number 7 team in the country.
Yeah.
Okay.
The under 9-1 at Ole Miss's last 10 games as a program against a team with a winning record. So that's kind of interesting thought here from Covers. The under 5-0 in LSU's last 5 games following a straight up win, and 7-1 in the last 8 games following an against the spread win. So the under seems to be a popular trend in the right direction here for the bettors. The home team 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 meetings between these two teams. Ole Miss 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games at LSU. All that being said, love what Jayden Daniels is doing. Love the Boutte. There's your clip right there if anyone wants to clip that into a YouTube short or TikTok. All that being said, I'm actually going to flip to what I initially was going to do. I'm going to take Ole Miss to win this game. Not saying that Blayne didn't do a great job of trying to convince me, but the only hesitation I have in that is something we haven't really brought up is Ole Miss.
Is it Brian Kelly? Is it his face?
Well,
is that what it is? Like him on the
I wasn't going to say that, but now that you've been, if we look back at Ole Miss here in recent weeks, Chris, this is the thing I have I'm going to pick them to win. But it's like, there was certainly that stretch there against Vanderbilt where they didn't play well. Yes, they rallied, but Vanderbilt's defense, we said, has just been a complete mess. Times against Auburn, Blayne brought up last week, that was a big thing, and that does worry me a little bit here. But I'm going to go with my Ric Flair, to beat the man, or to be the man, you got to beat the man. No one's beaten Ole Miss yet. I think I want to see it. I think this is certainly their toughest challenge to this point in terms of going on the road against LSU. But, man, I go back to just watching what they can do offensively. I don't know how this game plays out in terms of the score line. That's why I think this over-under set at 64 is so interesting because, I could see this being a low-scoring game where maybe the defenses get the pressure and that's able to kind of disrupt some things early on. But I could also see both these teams putting up a lot of points. Take Ole Miss by the slightest of margins here.
All right, we pick every single SEC game every week. Best way to catch those, hit the subscribe button on our channel. We also do a live show on Wednesday night where you can ask us questions, and we go over injury reports and anything that's changed. Anyway, thank you for watching our channel here at Southeastern 14. We'll see you again soon with another preview video.